You are listening to the World Sports Show on WPPMLP Philadelphia. Soccer-based sports talk covering local, nation, and global soccer. Broadcasting from the Philly Cam studio in Center City, Philadelphia on 106.5 FM.
And welcome, World Sports Show. Charlie Flowe here on March 27th. Cool evening in Philadelphia. Spring is just around the corner. A lot to talk about in the soccer world. We have an awesome guest in the studio, Karlstrom and John DiCriscio working the boards. Welcome everybody to the show tonight. How's everybody doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Thank you very much for asking.
Anytime, brother. How you doing tonight, Kara?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have another fellow Drexel alumni in the building.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. First Philadelphia radio show in a while.
A while. When's the last time you were on radio?
When I did radio for Drexel in 2008.
Hey, remember, at the end of the day, we're still older than you.
This is true.
Big shout out to John DiCriscio. Might as well put him on a spot. His birthday is in less than 3 hours. 2 hours and 58 minutes is your birthday, man.
It's not by choice.
Comes every year. Try to avoid it.
That's right.
So maybe there'll be some post-game, post-show celebration somewhere in Philadelphia. Maybe we'll give you the address. Maybe we won't. We don't know.
Maybe a little Q&A session. I'll ask myself some questions.
That's when you're getting old, right?
Mailbag at worldsportshow.com. I'll send, email myself real quick.
Did you get your AARP card in the mail yet?
I don't want to say that because there actually was one in the mail, but it wasn't addressed to me. I'm like, man, is somebody playing a joke on me here?
I've gotten those before too, man. I'm like, dude, you guys are reaching.
Current resident.
Because I know that there are people out there to get upset with the age of retirement moving up to the 60s and 65. It's like, dude, lower it, man. Yeah. Everybody wants to say because it makes you feel old. I want to get the early bird special.
Right.
It's like the bennies that you get. So... we have a great show tonight. We'll be talking a lot about the World Cup qualifiers. We'll talk about Kira's career playing basketball, football, all the other different kind of sports she's done and all her involvement. But trending right now is on Friday night, the U.S. men's national team beat Honduras 6-0 in a World Cup qualifier. The team was led by Clint Dempsey's hat trick. Up next for the USA will be Panama away Tuesday night. Mexico beat Costa Rica in their qualifier 2-0. Chicharito had a goal in that game. Trinidad and Tobago beat Panama 1-0. So CONCACAF is definitely all mixed up right now. It's
getting closer. It's getting tighter together.
Yeah, we've got 10 games. Every team has now played 3 games, and Mexico has the lead with 7 points. Right behind them, Costa Rica with 6, Panama 4. USA in that third spot with 3, Trinidad with 3, Honduras with 3, but USA with that goal differential, that 6-0 helps them a lot because it puts them into that playoff position that for some reason the standings ended today. They would go up against an Asian team that would be in a similar situation. But that's not what you want to do, but that's how Mexico got in the last World Cup. It's not the worst thing, but hey, any chance to stay alive and get your team into the World Cup, you'll take it. But looking over that game, I don't know if it's fool's gold. We saw Bruce Arena go out there and put up a 6 spot on Honduras. I mean, the first 30 minutes, it was 3-0. Got a lot of people thinking, and obviously social media blew up. Is this Bradley really balling for sure? Is this the kind of Bruce Arena team we're going to see? Or is it because we're playing a very bad-ranked Honduran team?
I don't think Honduran team was that bad. But it was interesting going in, before the show, we do a little bit of prep work and looking at Honduras lineup, like their formation on a field. I believe it was a 5-4-1.
Yeah.
5 defensive back. I mean, I know that they're trying to, not concede goals for the goal differential factor, which is going to, make or break them. They're going to try and, win against winnable teams. But I don't think they were looking to come in and win, get 3 points. I think they were just trying to, limit that goal differential. But,
get a draw, maybe get a 0-0, maybe get a 1-1, just kind of hold on.
2-0 would have been a victory in their book.
Yeah, because they're all sitting on 3 points right now.
That's it.
USA coming in, sitting on 0. They're sitting on the 3. Go on the road, just minimize the damage.
Yeah, but I think, a lot of people hit the mailbag. Again, every time I say it, mailbag at worldsportshow.com. People want to talk about Christian Pulisic, Hershey, PA-born player.
Which is a prom a couple years ago.
Young kid, lighting it up. Absolutely magic in the game.
And I think that they're using him the right way and putting him to where he's used to. I mean, there was a lot of talk that Klinsmann wasn't using him or wasn't using him proper, but I like the way that he played, and I like that Bruce Arena gave him attention and fed him balls. That if you're going to build up his confidence, you got to give him something to work with.
Yeah, gave him
Make
a little
him part
bit,
of the offense.
Gave him a little bit more room to play behind Dempsey, and also they did a good package they put together on social media today. It was basically a highlight of every touch that he had in the game, and it was interesting because it was either a completed pass or a foul.
He conceded a foul.
Conceded a foul. So it was very rare in the game that it was a bad pass or a turnover.
That's huge.
Winning ball, too, yeah.
Especially for a guy that's, 18 years old?
Yeah.
Or 17, 18?
Not the biggest guy in the world, but he was playing big, as far as speed. So.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for him now is playing in the Bundesliga and playing Champions League. That Bundesliga is one of the best leagues in the world, but not only is he over there, but he's starting to play. And there was a lot of people out there that he went over there, he didn't play right away, but you can't just go and start playing in the German league and be in the 11 or be in the 18 every game. Because when I went to their game, he wasn't even in the reserve when I went.
I mean, let's be honest. I think the training culture that he's bringing back to the team is, world class. The German team, if you want to train when you're young, going to Germany is not a bad thing.
Now, that was the good thing about when Klinsmann brought in a lot of the German-based players that grew up in Germany. We have a lot of the MLS players now like Dempsey that used to play in the EPL, that they're coming in with great work ethic. They're coming in from the top teams in the world. They face the best competition. As much as, hey, I love the MLS, you still need to have that foreign exposure in the European leagues.
Yep.
So, I mean, you've even played some ball in Europe, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Not that kind of ball.
No.
A little different.
But it's such a even different culture over there. It's such a densely populated continent. You have so many eyes on. There's so much competition, and so many eyes are on you at such an early age in the soccer world. And to be that American outsider, I feel like you have to work even harder to establish yourself, because there is a lot of stereotypes in the soccer world when the Americans come over there. We've even seen when American coaches go over there. Sometimes when you and I are coaching clinics and classes, it's like, oh, you're American.
Right. Is it the saturation of soccer factor, or is it the laziness factor? I mean, it's got to be, or is it both? Or is it?
What do you mean the laziness factor? As American,
like
we're
as in,
lazy?
like looking in, like all right, they say like, hey, Germans, Argentinians, like their training facilities and academies.
Yeah.
And, if you're coming up as a pro, world class. But you look at, they say, why isn't the U.S. up to them standards? Like, is it because of we have so many players and it's spread out through the college system and academies and clubs, or is it like these guys don't have the drive?
Yeah, I think that there's two ways to look at it. The American athlete themselves were always known to be hard working. You're never going to find anybody with America on their team saying that guy doesn't work hard or train hard at practice, and that's one of the things that MLS is known to be: a physically fit league and a physically physical league. So, that's what's really kind of helped us a lot in CONCACAF, being physically fit and physical. We go up against some of the Latino teams that genetically they're just smaller athletes. But when you go over to Europe, the speed and the fitness will only take you so far, because all those guys are also big and fast. Now it becomes a technical game. And I think the difference between the American system and the European system is you've got a lot of systems over there, like in Germany, that they got a lot of the club teams and a lot of the national teams all to buy in the same package. You're kind of honing in on the same type of system, where in America, you have the club system that's set up in what makes the parents happy. And it even goes down to even when you played basketball as a kid, that parents will jump ship to a club because their kid's not playing, or I don't like that system. And kids are constantly going to, you have like feeder schools, like certain high schools or clubs that'll feed into a certain college, because that coach at that high school or club's coaching the same system. Like when you're at Drexel, a lot of triangle offense and stuff was there. So if you played that in high school, you had a foot up. Even if you were an amazing All-American in high school, you might not fit in that system because you're not used to it. So then you start getting these systems that I look at it as some of the coaches almost, not that they're lazy, but they don't have a hard job recruiting because they have a feeder system. It's like a minor league system. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've seen that in your times playing AAU and going into playing, at Drexel, that you have schools that are just feeder schools or feeder clubs where they can just go by the word of a coach and not actually have to see that athlete. And that's what's happening in a lot of these European nations. They already know the system, so they know and trust those coaches.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to get into a program when you're familiar with the offenses or the defenses that you're playing. You're more accustomed, you're more familiar with it. So it's not like when you're getting there to college, it's a brand new thing that you've never seen before.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the things that really hinders the growth of American soccer is adapting. I know that's something that Klinsman tried to do a lot. You and I, John, taking a lot of our a lot of our certifications for coaching, they tried to make it a consistency, and changing the way you think and different types of touches, different 8v8s, different size fields and that just to better the game. And then you have a lot of the old traditionalists that still like, doing it the way it was done, or they want to go do their own system. So they're trying to come up with a formula that all the clubs can get, so we're all kind of trained in a similar status. And then you do have a lot of the American coaches that might not like what a U.S. soccer is doing, so they're going to get UEFA licenses. So it's not just, it's not just now.
We don't like it. We're going.
No, it's true. I mean, I'm seeing that when I'm applying for I'm always looking at coaching jobs. Every coach out there has those emails that you get, hey, this is a coaching job, and you look at it, then you look at the requirements. I've seen ones that have UEFA on there, the equivalent, hey, you've got a UEFA B or A. You don't have to have that US B or A. You can say, well, I got this UEFA A or B. Okay. It's just that I think programs are starting to realize that there's not just one way to win soccer. It's not just the USA system.
I mean, I've never got the letter in the mail saying, hey, you got your B, coming to coach for me. But no, I definitely hear what you're saying. It's,
yeah.
I think that everybody's trying to find that magical formula to coach and better the players quickly and, basically win the World Cup. Get their players up there to train them quick, get them ready, get them professional ready. I mean, you got, that's another thing we could debate. You got some countries that are getting their kids that want to be pro ready to go out and be a professional, make a paycheck. Then you got other countries, Portugal, Spain, who want to have the best player so that they want them groomed for a longer period of time. So I think a lot of it's the size of the country and what they can do. I mean, some of the countries you and I have done some work with, some of these Caribbean nations, a lot of them is they know that their national team's never going to qualify for a World Cup. They might make an appearance or make a little noise in qualifiers. Maybe they'll do something in, like, say, Caribbean Cup. But their big thing is getting those players exposure. That's right. And getting them to a pro team or getting them to a college. I mean, because every different FIFA entity has a goal within goals. Right. So are they looking at attracting a major sponsor? I think that could be, what their program is directing. Say they get one kid who goes, plays D1, professional, maybe third tier American soccer. Hey, they go back and might get a look for a big sponsor. So there you go. It's got to be a start, and then I guess they would build upon that. But
I think a lot of it's the education system too. Is a lot of these players in these smaller countries, they don't have the resources in their country to pay their players or house their players or give them proper nutrition. So then you look at these countries that can really afford to pay their players and host residency, but these players need to get off island or off their small countries, go to these other countries in a college or pro system, learn that system, and then go back and be a coach. Because I think it starts a lot with the coaching culture that it has to be handed off. Because you do go to some of these smaller countries, and it's not to diss them, but it falls off really fast on the not education of the game, but internet. I think is a powerful tool. We talk about that a lot now. YouTube and internet, and that now coaches are able to watch videos and start to learn the game. These players are understanding the game because of the internet.
It'd be tough for somebody to tell me that they don't watch YouTube for coaching techniques and tips.
I use it all the time, man.
Scouting, anything, hit it on your phone.
Well, I mean, it's helped scouting when all of us were here. When we were looking into college and in our high school and club careers, there was no YouTube.
Right.
That now kids and it's become this resource that you can post full games, or you can just go to a park. All you need is like a tripod by yourself and set up some cones, or even in basketball, set up just a video of you doing things. It's something. It's out there. It sticks. I've had so many players that wanted to get into NWSL, and I told them, go make a combine video of yourself. Even if it's just basics, your name is now searchable, and your name now shows up. I remember Randy Waldron from the Houston Dash ended up getting a player he found on LinkedIn.
Go.
It's just started searching and somebody inboxed him on LinkedIn and a coach and somewhere and it started connecting back and forth. How did you find this player? LinkedIn. And it's different things. Like you hear these players getting discovered because some video of them doing something amazing is trending. These kids, I think, are very fortunate in that sense that there's so many games, the JUCO, Division 1, 3, whatever division it is, even high school, look, somebody's filming it. Somebody's putting together. I mean, we had an ID showcase yesterday at Philadelphia University. One of the parents filmed the entire thing. So, and that kid was a junior, so good for his dad. He's putting together film and a highlight package. I love when players that come to me emailing me saying, I want to come to your university. And I write back, do you have a highlight reel? And they link me to YouTube. My only advice is be careful what music you pick.
That's right.
There's some when I was recruiting some players and they have some teeny bopper music. It's like, I got to mute this, man. But I understand that it's funny how just the music itself, but it's genius, all the software and things out there these kids can use that, like the whole highlight was just a highlighted of them. Like literally there's like a circle around them. And some players show me their bad things. And I really praise those players that you can show me a highlight of 5 minutes of you scoring goals. Great. Show me all your shanks. There's one girl, she sent me a video when I was working with the women's team a year ago of all of her misses too. I'm like, dude, good. Show me all of your bad plays.
Was it a added bonus, like DVD bonus?
No, it was just
the shanks and the misses.
But no, I think that sometimes
DVD
the worst shank. We talk about this in the show too, Kira, about John has somewhere he's got to dig it out of his basement. What best of red cards or yellow cards video?
It's like red cards and like an old VHS from it's probably 90.
I think I have a VHS for how many times I dove for a ball into chairs or into stands. You want to see hard work? That's it.
Yeah.
It's like Hard Tackles and Red Cards Volume 1. And they actually made a series out of it, and it was bad. But why don't you, here you go, here's your mission. Why don't you make a YouTube video on how to make a YouTube video on making a reel?
Oh,
there you go.
There we go. I thought you were going to say how to make a YouTube video on how to mess up.
How to mess up.
I can make a highlight reel of lowlights. Here's how you don't make a PK. Just shank it.
Right.
Well, that's what I like when I was growing up. They wanted to see full games or segments. They just didn't want the highlight reel.
Yeah, anybody can make a three-pointer. Yeah.
Or layup or, a 360 dunk.
She can make a layup.
Game.
Wow. Who can't make a layup?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they wanted to see,
exactly.
You had half court or full court, so see how you're interacting with other players, how you're feeding the ball if you're a point guard, how about you're rebounding, where you're coming off the basket. Like, you want to see the whole game. You want to see the whole field or the pitch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I tell players that a lot. I want to see 15, 20 minutes of uncut. Just give me raw footage. It's just 20 straight minutes.
It's just a bad industry standard of the highlight reel, so to say, that the coach is getting. They don't take the time. You got 20, 30 kids pointing, your application on video, and then it's just like, there you go, 2 minutes, and then you throw it out. But you got to put your time in and watch this film, for coaches.
Yeah, and it's a lot of, too, when watching the film, the discrepancy, too, of high school sports and junior colleges. I mean, it falls off fast. I mean, yeah, you scored 5 goals, but you were playing a team that was just bad. I was trying to think of the nice way to say it, but I mean it's very true too. It's competition too. That, some of these players, because I've coached at the JUCO level, he scored 6 goals in a game, but I'm like, yeah, but look who he's playing. Everybody that was at that school played on the team. That's like it falls off very fast. So, but no, I think that goes back to your original point about. It's just getting on the same page. I think it's such a hard thing in the United States because you've got every club has got their agenda and their system, and they are also business. So they're also going to sell parents on your kid's going to go D1, your kid's going to go scholarship, your kid's got a great chance to go to MLS. And let's be honest, you're selling parents on a lot of dreams. My big thing is you might get your kid in that school. Is your kid actually going to play when every other kid is All-American, what kind of impact? And I think it's a sad, it's because you and I work in the club system and stuff, but it's such a money maker, all these tournaments and that. It's, at the end of the day, it's a pay-to-play system in America.
That's what it boils down to.
It's pay-to-play, man.
Business. Look
at Brazil. I'm pretty sure it's not pay-to-play. Some of those poor kids in Brazil that are up there having a chance to win every World Cup, you're going to tell me Brazil's not one of the favorites.
Yeah, but
and you're gonna tell me those kids, you didn't have the $1,000 union dues, you can't play.
I don't know if it's like a pay to play like it is. We're using that term pretty loosely. In the U.S., but I'm sure it's some type of scheme where it's,
back
money,
pay.
money involved.
Yeah, it is.
Who
It
knows?
is.
I'm not there, so I can't really.
But yeah, I mean, it's the grind. It's just I don't sell parents and kids when they come for recruiting stuff. I don't sell them hopeless dreams. I look at it as I'm the most selfless coach. That if you don't want to come here, go where it makes you happy. Go where you think you can play. Go to a school that has your major. I've recruited some kids that they just don't got the major here, and then I've seen coaches try to persuade that kid into a different major. And you almost have to lose sight at the college level. You are about winning, but you're about developing somebody and giving them a degree in something they're going to do the rest of their life. So just remind everybody you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPM LP Philadelphia. I'm Charlie Flowe. He's John DiCriscio. I'm here with Kara Karlstrom. Very, very good to see you. It's been a while. You've had your hands on a lot of things, and after the break, we're really going to break down exactly what you do and what you've done. It's a long laundry list. We might be on the show till about 11 o'clock, so
or tomorrow.
keeping you up past your bedtime. But looking forward, do have some big games for the USA coming up tomorrow. World Cup qualifier starts again. We've seen Bruce Arena now with a World Cup qualifier match that actually counted. We've seen him in a couple of friendlies, but tomorrow in Panama, huge.
Step up in difficulty. I think Panama's going to be a lot better, shape and eager to get 3 points against the U.S. than Honduras was. I think that historically, U.S. has not the best results against Panama in Panama.
It's a dangerous place and a dangerous place to play.
It's definitely a good benchmark for Bruce Arena second go around down there. So I'm interested. And what's the start time? I believe it's
I'm pulling it up right now. My laptop decided to freeze and lock up on me and go to screensaver while I was talking. But let's look at it. We got the Honduras-Costa Rica game is going to be at 5 o'clock Eastern on BN Sports. Trinidad and Tobago will be at 7 p.m. on BN Sports. USA-Panama, BN Sports at 10 p.m. So, bang, if you're a CONCACAF fan, dude, you got from 5 o'clock to midnight straight football.
That's right.
So, and also there are some South American games going on. If you got BN Espanol, you've got Bolivia, Argentina, Ecuador, Colombia, Chile, Venezuela, Brazil, Paraguay, Peru, and Uruguay.
So Ecuador, Colombia is in Ecuador?
Ecuador, Colombia is in, yes, Ecuador. So elevation is a factor.
Big time. That home field advantage in Ecuador.
Yeah.
It's pretty big. I think it's like the third hardest stadium in the world, their national stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Bring your own oxygen, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know how you're going to get that on the plane.
Same with Chile. Chile, Ecuador, right?
Yeah, bring an oxygen tank on a plane. No, that's cool, man. It's cool. I'm going to need this.
Right.
How's that getting through customs?
That's right. Scuba tanks.
Yeah, exactly. I thought you guys were going to play in the mountains.
Scuba.
Yeah, we're doing a scuba exercise, so just hold your breath long enough to take your oxygen with
you. We got jokes. We talk sports. We got it all.
What's the highest elevation you ever played at? Did you ever play any crazy altitude games at all that it really affected your breathing?
Colorado?
Yeah, I was going to say, we didn't play in Colorado, but, my family lives there, and when I go run in this old age, that's probably the hardest workout I've had.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they tell you. I've been out in Colorado, and it's the dry heat. You're not really, dude, don't sell me the dry heat, man.
No, it's tough to run out there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, wait, but it's dry heat. I'm like, yeah, but it's still, I don't have as much oxygen. So.
Yeah, even back when I thought I was in shape.
Yeah, even the bartender warned me when I was at happy hour. I'm like, make sure you drink a glass of water with every beer. I'm like, why? It's like, tried to bring the elevation thing. So I learned real quick about the elevation of water.
Mm-hmm.
So before the show we came in, we were talking about the beep test. And
yeah.
It was kicked around that the World Sports Show might do a pre-show beep test.
Dude, we didn't say pre-show. I think we said it for charity.
For charity. Over 30. Over 30 beep tests.
You get an hour long of nothing.
It would be like wheezing nonsense.
You'll beep.
Yeah, right.
We did the beep test at Philly U on. That was our first thing we threw our boys into, and I love fitness, man. I'm a fitness guru. I hated fitness as a player, but when you become a coach, you realize why my high school team, we were a second half team.
No kidding.
While we were a 75th minute on type of team. Like first half, okay, but second half we would just destroy teams because we were fit. And we did the beep test 6 a.m. on a frozen pitch Friday morning. Man,
I like
Kids
that.
are dropping like flies.
When you got your Wikipedia page, it's going to say Charlie Flowe likes the beep test as a coach, but not as much as a player.
Now, I need to actually, I thought about it,
That's
as a
great.
coach, you feel like such a hypocrite because you're pushing these players, and I'm sipping coffee. I'm serious.
There you go.
And it's
See, when I coach, I used to do it with them. I was like, come on, kids, keep up.
There are some drills I will do, but there's some drills I won't do. And then I use the whole, but I'm a keeper coach. I use that as an excuse.
Put the gloves on.
Yeah, sometimes I defend my keeper. Like,
jeez.
he's a keeper, man. He only needs to be fit for about 5 minutes
That's
here and
true.
there. But it's true that everybody on the team's got to be in the same fitness because you don't know. There are games where that's a big misconception. Keepers need to be fit. It's a different type of fitness. There's different types of drills instead of them just running and running and running. I do a lot of change of direction when I work on the keepers. A lot of back and forth, changing direction. I think they need to be, back and forth quick. Even all soccer players. That's why I love futsal too. Just that whole, it's not just running up and back, up and back. You have to mix it, So, I'm sure you've done the beep test before. Have you done it before, Kara?
No, I actually
I've
have
never
not.
done it before. I think these are all new things that were.
I mean,
we
I
just got
knew
yelled
about
at.
it. We
Yeah.
talked about, I think, doing it in basketball, but we
Yeah.
had different things to do. See, I was much more of a fitness player. I think I actually like preseason and postseason better than actually being in season. I couldn't mess up.
Yes, it's that whole grit and pushing people. There are players that we have on rosters that fitness guys that don't play a lot of minutes, but we know they push players. One name that comes to mind, but she was still playing until the end of her career, was Heather Mitz.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about her a lot. James Galanis mentioned her, and she's even been on the show talking about how she just kept pushing the bar, just like Christine Rampone, that you have these players that are the oldest on the team, double the age of some of their teammates, and they're still outrunning them. So there is hope for us, guys.
I've never had that problem.
What?
I've never been the top in my beep test.
If we did the beep test in high school, I'm 90% sure I'd finish first. It's funny. I have to put an asterisk by it.
That's confident.
I was the fastest if one of our forwards didn't smoke weed before practice. I am dead serious. I know this is a kid's show, but I'm dead serious. One of our forwards in high school was a stoner. If he came to practice sober, I was the second fastest on his team. So, but if he came, did some activities, I was the fastest on the team.
Well, one is I can't wait to see the mailbag next week where people are writing in.
Jeez.
But, quick question for you, just not to go on the subject, but how many goals did he score?
A lot.
We'll leave it at
This
that.
guy averaged about they say a good forward averages a half a goal a game. This guy would average about a half a goal a game. So
That's par.
he also was a setup guy, and he also was a big forward. Because when you have a big forward that can destroy people, I look at that factor. If you can knock somebody out in the game, you can knock out a fullback or a sweeper, dude. You've killed two birds with one stone.
Man.
So, it's interesting, and you look back at some of the people you grew up with playing, and I ran into him out a few years ago. Man, that guy's the size of a house now.
Well, I'll put two and two together. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. But I have no idea how fast I am, but I think you realize that you might have the knowledge of the game, but every once in a while, coaches will jump in scrimmages with our players. I know you coached college basketball. Every once in a while, coaches get in there, and I think it's the quickness of recovery. When you get burned on a play, how quick you recover, and that's what gets me the most. When I get burned, how quick can I turn and catch? And that's what gets me the most.
I mean, it's not about speed though. Too, when you're playing as a coach, it's smarter.
Yeah.
You don't have to play harder. You play smarter.
Oh, I know that. I don't go
Yeah.
balls to the wall tackles now. I do a smart tackle because I know that if I go all out and I miss this, I'm not recovering. Where in my high school days, I could recover, flip around, bounce back up. So you play smarter. So, but
It's that technique coming in. That's what we're preaching them. Get the right technique in, and then you don't have to make it.
Yeah.
But, everybody gets beat, so it's how you're going to get beat. You're going to get back, and you're going to make a save it, save a goal, save a basket.
well, that's a big thing I look for when I'm looking at goalkeepers. I think the goalkeeper position is a very hard to evaluate when you're given evaluation like a number. So that is something I really look at is recovery, is their demeanor after giving up a goal and after they've made an amazing save. Does it go to their head or they just bounce right back up?
That's right.
I mean, I had a couple keepers yesterday that that stat of make an amazing save, but then you give up a soft goal because you rebounded the ball out. Great. I don't care that you made that great save. It's meaningless at the end of the day, but it's how quick that keeper can get back on his feet and recover. We're going to take a quick break. This is Charlie Flowe World Sports Show. John DiCriscio, Kara Karlstrom on WPPM LP Philadelphia. We'll be right back.
This is Denisha Adams, and you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia.
Last week on World Sports Show.
What does that mean to get praise from a program that you just joined?
I'm just happy,
Yeah, exactly. So definitely a feeder team has done great in getting players into the college levels, semi-pro levels, and now we're really getting on the track of, hey, we put players in the MLS. So another player that really, I think, has become a name and face of Philadelphia, does a lot of community work, does a lot of good in the community, and just a guy that I think is just a stand-up citizen, and none other than Ray Gaddis. Caught up with him after the game. Charlotte World Sports Show, Ray Gaddis. Always good to walk away with a point. I mean, you guys battled tonight. What's to say about this club just to come down from a goal late and just tie it up?
It just shows where we left off last year. Last year we had a couple of good results where we came back and battled back. That's the standard, especially playing at home. We definitely want to win every game at home, but it's good that we didn't drop points and the team played well tonight.
Sports Show, Charlie Flowe here, John DiCriscio, Black Privilege. We're in the studio at Philly Cam on WPPM Philadelphia. A little bit cool night in Philadelphia, impending snowstorm, but we got some hot jams coming up for you. Got some great music. Black Priv is a West Philadelphia native. Are you West Philadelphia native?
Yeah, I'm from West Philly. What's up, bro?
Okay. What part of West Philly are you from?
I'm from everywhere in West Philly.
Everywhere in West Philly.
Anywhere in West Philly you name, I probably lived over there.
There's different styles of rap even within Philly.
Right, most definitely.
So how did you get into the whole rap industry? It had to start somewhere.
Pretty much just growing up in Philly, we big on hip-hop culture and stuff like that, and just music in general, you know what I mean? So I was just rapping all the time, like where I'm from in my neighborhood, and I ain't really think I was that good, but I guess everybody else, they was feeling the music, so...
And now, back to the WPPM studios in Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show.
I'm working and thinking I'm blowing on some perk when I'm drinking. I'm getting drove too. Lincoln for certain, but work for them Franklins. Up them clothes, man. Somebody told Derek I need a rose too. All blue, you know where I be at. I ain't got a record deal, so I ain't gotta relax.
And welcome back to World Sports Show. Charlie Flowe here, John DiCriscio, Kara Karlstrom on WPPM LP Philadelphia. Breaks a little bit of goofing and fun, and we were tossing around the idea. I think it may be official. We haven't come up with a hashtag for it, but we're going to try to do an old head beep test.
I like that. It may be official.
Maybe.
Breaking news. It may be official.
Real news, not fake news. Beep test for charity.
Real news beeps.
Yeah, beep test for charity. We're already discussing what venue may be the host of, but I think what we'll do is all the benefits will go towards World Sports Foundation.
It's a good idea.
And maybe another foundation that we're in with. We have some other good foundations. You're real good friends with Jill Lynch. She's got some great foundations. So if we're doing something for fitness, old heads doing fitness, a bunch of coaches, former players, throw a few people off the street on, people that talk trash,
I think I opened up a can of worms.
Dude, it's a good can of worms.
No, I'm in.
I think when you talk about doing things for charity, it's a win-win. I know that people say they hate the term win-win, but when you're doing something goofy like that for charity, like you've been a member of doing the whole bear fight thing where it's drinking for charity. Hey, I mean, if you're going to do it for charity.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, so, so we're looking at your career. Don't know where to start exactly, but you've been in a lot of places. You've done a lot of different things, Kira. You played some high school basketball, AAU basketball, and ended up at Drexel, and you're from the Detroit, Michigan area. How did you end up at Drexel? That's a little bit of hike from Michigan. A lot of people in Michigan have heard of Drexel.
It's a long way away. I think everybody, when I was in Michigan, they were like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Drexel." Oh, Drexler. I think I've heard of that.
Is he like a basketball player for the Portland Trailblazers? Yeah, he's got his own school. Slamma Jamma.
I know. Now everybody knows about it. I mean, back then, not so much.
You put them on the map for like the whole state of Michigan.
It was all me.
Yeah.
It was totally all me. Now everybody knows in Michigan where Drexel is. No, it was kind of a unique story. The first school that offered me a scholarship was Niagara when I was a junior, and I loved the school, but it was liberal arts, and I knew I wanted to be a design major.
Okay.
And so Pam Durkin, who was an assistant coach at Drexel at the time, he made a call and said, "There's a point guard in Michigan that I really love, and you should think about recruiting her." And I got a call like a week or two later, and kind of the rest was history. I fell in love with the school, and I came down to visit, and it was very different from suburban Michigan. Not that I hadn't traveled all over with AAU, but, you know, I was from the burbs in Michigan and coming to this, like, really gritty, historical. The Rocky Steps were really what sold me.
No, I have a similar story. I was sold on Drexel as well. I looked at a lot of rural campuses like Virginia Tech. I was all set on that all my life, but then when I got introduced to Drexel and the urban life and the arts and the cultures and the sports and even the art, music, and the Rocky thing, I'm just like, Drexel, it hits you fast. It's not like you're introduced slowly. Drexel's campus is bang, it's right in your face.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got off the plane. They took me on the red trolley tour.
Yeah.
Like Betsy Ross House, the Art Museum steps, Declaration of Independence, you know. I mean, it really sold me. Not that I was like really into history or anything, but it was just different. It was different from Michigan.
That's the thing about Philadelphia schools is a lot of schools will try to sell you on, though. They got this gazebo, we got the duck pond, you know, things like that. And I'm from Virginia, so I'm like, been there, done that. You're not going to sell me on a rural campus. I mean, I've seen it. And I think it's just you're selling the city as an institution, not just what the institution can do, but all the Philly schools can sell the city.
I'm laughing at Duck Pond. You got me on that one.
There's a lot of duck ponds, man.
People sell you on, this duck pond, that's the name. Get the ducks' names. I'm like, I don't care about your ducks' names, man. I mean, these ducks, it's traditionally been that you walk past a duck before you're fine. I'm like, no, dude, I don't need all those. Like,
you go to like Colonel Sanders University?
That ain't no duck on the plate.
Sorry about that, guys.
Rest in peace,
There's
Colonel.
some really grassy knolls that you should experience out there.
Seen one of those. Wow, they're all the same. Let me guess.
You can have a really nice picnic.
Yeah, I think that it's the grit of Philly that sold me the hard working city, and I think that, I don't know, you and I got sold for different reasons. I came here for engineering, you came here for basketball, and I mean, you've got some great stories how you just got kind of thrown into the fire as a sophomore.
Yeah, I mean, our point guard got hurt my sophomore year, 5 games in, and I had to step up, and I played my freshman year, but not a whole lot of minutes, and it was a big responsibility, and, you know, Denise Dillon was her second year as a head coach at Drexel, and, you know, she trusted me to take on that role, and, you know, it was a little bit of a head case at times that year, but we made it through the season, and I think it was my best season of the whole 4 years I was there, so, you know, it was a great experience. Like, I love Drexel. I'm a huge fan of the program and of the college, like, in general. And, like, one thing that's unique, and I don't know if this is true for you, but it's such a family-oriented school. Like, I go back now, and the coaching staffs for most of every sport there is still the same. The athletic staff in terms of, like, equipment managers and the security desk people and the ADs, like, it really is, like, going back to a family. And I think that's unique in, like, programs in general.
No, it's true. It was a Division I school, but had a small town school feel to it. It's one of the smaller Division I schools in the Philadelphia area. We're always kind of casted in Big 5 + 1 or City 6. We're always the +1 or the outsider, and we kind of like that as Drexel people.
Yeah,
that we are, you know, really prided ourselves on the work ethic that we had. That we were always kind of excluded, so it made us work even harder to put ourselves on the map. And such a really good educational institution. You can't argue with that. But there's a stat you told us in the pregame show, or the pre-planning of the show, pre-production, was that you averaged over 40 minutes a game, even though a college basketball game is 40 minutes long.
Yeah, well, I mean, we went into overtime a lot.
It's good for the stats for fantasy. If fantasy stats would,
like 1 point. I mean, we were at UNC Wilmington. We into like 3 overtimes. I mean, my senior year, Northeastern, we went into 5 overtimes.
Are you kidding me?
We set
John's
the record.
He's busting out. He got to Google
Look
that.
it up. But the best part is like so we go into 5 overtimes. and against Northeastern. We end up winning. We set an
5
NCAA
times 5 to 25 extra minutes,
yeah.
dude.
So we end up NCAA record. We're on ESPN. They come, like, everybody's interviewing everybody. So Clarkson, all the newspapers, like in Detroit, start calling me, and they're like asking me about the game. I was like, yeah, it was a really great game. I followed out in regulation.
Oops. You could have sold him, dude. Just keep beating
I know, like,
him.
I really wanted to be like, yeah, I played all 5 of those overtimes. But, maybe if I didn't foul out in regulation, we would have won. No.
Yeah, you don't get that +1 foul. You still got your 5 fouls. You think that every overtime, I mean, now they're talking the rules in soccer. You get an extra sub or
I know.
you get an extra timeout. You should get that extra foul, dude.
Man, rewriting it.
Rewriting it, yeah. All the purists out there are like rolling around. No, you can't.
We do that every week.
Dude, I like to rock the cradle. So, but but that's about 5 overtimes. How agonized is that because you fouled out?
It was the worst experience. Like
It's
sitting
like
on the
1/3 of the
bench.
game you were sitting.
Yeah, I really was. I was sitting on the bench more than I actually played that day.
You would have been averaging 50 minutes a game. Talk about padding your stats, man. It's like...
Man, I really would have been up there in the rebound
Did you guys win
stats.
that game in the 5 overtimes?
Mm-hmm, we did.
Holy crap. How tired was the team that was actually... I mean, because you just run out of numbers there. Because you only have so much depth on the bench. Like, basketball's tough. You don't have, like, American football. You might have 4 guys for the same position. Basketball, you might have just 1 backup or 1 or 2 at that position.
Oh, we were running out of subs by the end of the game.
Denise is trying to, like, throw a jersey on. What's the eligibility? I got 1 year left. I mean, I did red shirt,
Can the trainer go in?
How'd you sleep that night? I mean, the team probably...
Oh, we were, like, walking up. I mean, we were in Cloud 9 that night. Like, winning.
You're right, because you got that high almost from winning that you're like...
It's towards the end of the season too, I think, if I remember correctly. Like, it was a great, like, thing to look back on too. It's like one of those things that you don't forget. For me, like, not as memorable, like falling out. But
What was the 5th foul? You remember the 5th foul? I'm sure you do.
Oh, it was probably a defensive, like, idiotic foul that I, like, got yelled at for later. But jumping over people. It's probably what it was.
Here's a stat that blew my mind. Not sure what year you told us it was. 15 rebounds second half of a game, and you're
LaSalle.
You're a monstrous 5'3". I mean, it's a big 5'3".
I'm a big 5'3".
Yeah, it's you don't say that to women many times without getting slapped in the face.
I mean,
She's a big 5'3".
I'm a good 5'4" with, like, basketball shoes on.
Nobody ever says that.
Good 5'4".
Yeah, if they only made basketball heels, if they had those heel Jordans.
Yeah, but I wanted them to always put 5'3" in the program because it made me sound better.
I did the same thing, man. I was always 6 foot, a little bit above. I just said 6'1".
Yeah.
Even my driver's license. You're 6'1". I'm like, that's what my driver's license says. Must be true.
Yeah, no, rebounding was like my thing. So I had 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes of the game against LaSalle at LaSalle. It was my senior year. And I had 15 rebounds in a game that we lost horribly in the second half. So, I mean, that was a big accomplishment for me. I think I had more rebounds than I had points. That was usually the case.
Well, and let's remind the listeners out there, you're the point guard. You're point guard, you're leading.
Yeah.
So where were you on the defense then? If you're getting rebounds, you just got a great eye or quick?
Yeah, I mean, it was just reading where the ball came off the hoop and, like, the positioning. And most people didn't expect me. Like, towards the middle of the season, people started to notice I was coming in for rebounds, but it wasn't expected for a point guard.
might want to box her out, dude.
No, I was
point
quick.
guard.
I was quick. Like, if I had enough room, I was going underneath.
Going between players' legs. Yeah. But, I mean, as a coach, I don't like the idea of my point guard going in there for, scrapping for rebounds. But for transition and switching the floor, ball's already in the point guard's hand.
Well, I think that was, like, something that Denise was really good at, is, like, knowing what the players' roles are and their strengths and their weaknesses. And me even being a point guard, like, our 2 or 3 guard would get back. Like, someone was dedicated that maybe not have been as strong as a rebounder to get back. They would send her back, and I was always going in, So, I mean, she's, like, Denise is one of the smartest coaches that, I've ever seen in a sport in general.
No, she's good. I've gotten a chance to, we've had her on the show, interviewed her before. We heavily covered when they made that amazing run into the WNT and won the whole thing. That was
incredible.
It was one of the times where, as a journalist, you're not supposed to celebrate. You're there neutral, but I'm like, that's my alumni. So I did a little breaking of the journalist rule. I took a photo with the trophy. I'm like, screw this, man. I know I'm here as a journalist, but also alumni. So
yeah, you got to be proud.
I held the trophy, dude.
And 7 or 8 years she accomplished a WNIT championship. Like, that's incredible. Like, for Drexel, who's not really been on the map for basketball, especially for women's basketball, she's really taken that program to the next level.
And I think it's something to say about the NCAA versus the NIT tournaments, that I like the NIT tournaments better because I think it's such a hard thing when schools get into these tournaments and like say like a UNC, but you're playing somewhere in Seattle, and you're in the Western. Like let's be average. Average college kid can't just get on a plane with 1 week's notice. Where with WNIT and NIT, they're a lot of hosted, by whatever is the higher seed or lower seed gets that home game, and that was the cool part is watching Drexel's women just win all these games at home.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, I've only got to go like a mile up the street and watch this game, and they win, they're here next week. They win, they're here next week. And I think that's what college sports is about. Is I know that it's a big business what the NCAA does, but I mean, you've got these games at University of Phoenix. It's like University of Phoenix doesn't even have a team, but they're hosting a game. I always find that funny. You got an NFL stadium, but you ain't even got an athletic program. But. I'm not going to offend any. Hope I don't offend any University of Phoenix alumni because I heard they're rising. I mean, is that what they're saying?
Maybe.
I don't know, dude. So, but yeah, shout out to everybody that goes to the Vry too. But you didn't you go play in Europe? I think you told me that. Is it Romania or something you went and played in?
Yeah, I played in Romania for almost a year. I had surgery, so I came home early, but. It was funny because you were talking about earlier, like just how different it is from being in America and growing up, like playing sports as it is in Europe and some of these places that, where I was in Romania, it was a great program, but we didn't have the equipment and the facilities that.
It's kind of the opposite switch because, the big, America is the one that really made basketball big. So you're going to kind of like a European coming here to play soccer idea.
Yeah, but what was interesting too is when I got there, like most of these kids grow up knowing that they're going to play pro in some facet or another. Here, like for me as a WNBA player, you're talking like the top 3% of the population in college basketball, maybe 1% go pro.
Yeah, we're lucky if a conference gets a player, go pro.
And then there, it's like you can go pro in a different country. You can go pro at a different level. It's almost like the pro leagues have your college division 1, 2, and 3 leagues. And it isn't always about money. And a lot of these kids that go to school, they're not going to school for a career. They're going to school because they have to get an education because it's just something that you have to do. And, basketball or sports is just a way of life. And you expect to go pro and you're not going to make a lot of money, but they love the game so much, it doesn't matter how much they make.
Yeah. Now, what was a lot of your makeup of your team? I mean, you're in this foreign country as the American player, but what was a lot of the makeup of?
There was 2 of us Americans, one for VCU, a friend of mine. We actually played against each other in college, which was cool. And then we had Czechoslovakian, we had some Hungarian. A lot was Romanian, though. Most of the team was made up of like the Romanian players who either played on the national team or from like the Bucharest, like outside areas.
Now, what was the whole acceptance thing like? You're coming in as the American, and you hear different mixed stories, but I mean, what was that like? You're walking into a foreign country, foreign language, foreign system. I'm sure not exactly the same system you ran at Drexel.
No. I mean, some people were excited and some weren't. So obviously the captain of the team, who was a point guard, was not excited for me to come in.
Was she Romanian?
Yep. Yeah. Well, part of the reason was, too, is like, the American style of basketball is so aggressive.
Yeah.
European style in a lot of countries is not. It's a shooting and a running game. Okay. And for me to come in, I mean, she hated me because I was a gnat on defense. I was pushing and shoving, and I was always rebounding, and I was just a lot stronger. I was 3 times.
They're used to a lot of just high scoring, run and gun, where you guys are just grinding it out on defense, keeping them off the boards.
Yeah, and that wasn't, I mean, so my style of play was very different. And obviously, like, that's why they brought me in, because it was more effective than what the point guard was doing there. And then I think it was funny when we got there, we had to do like preseason training or whatever, and I just like took off running at the first day that we were doing this run, and the girls were yelling at me like after, and I was like, what? And they were like, well, honestly, like, if you take off running, then that means we're going to have to try to keep up with you, and we try to start slow so we don't have to run that hard. And I'm like, where are we?
No, dude, I've seen that with teams before. Dude, you push it even, dude, no, you have to go 90%, because if you're 100%, we all can't do that 100%. But
I know, but then once you show them 110%, you're expected to always stay at 110%.
Yep,
so I kind of shot myself in the foot.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
And there's some other things, since the quite a few guys have probably known you a good 10 years now, that you did play some tackle football and quarterback in Boston. Is that true?
Yeah, in Connecticut.
Oh,
Yeah,
Connecticut,
when I worked at ESPN, I was trying to get back in shape.
Just go play tackle football.
Yep, I started out. I wanted to be a wide receiver or running back, and nope, they put me in the quarterback position because apparently I could throw. I mean, I couldn't see over my front line. It was like a 5-step drop, roll out, and like sprint
Doug
to the side.
Flutie out there, man.
That's exactly what everybody called me, and I had no
Really?
idea who that was when I was that. I mean, I wasn't really like a football guru.
Yeah, because you're not from the New England area, so you don't know who
I'm
Doug
from
Flutie.
Detroit, so you want to talk about Barry Sanders? Okay, great.
But he ain't throwing the ball.
Exactly, which is why I showed up to be a running back.
How did they pick you as quarterback? You just throw the ball to the coach and like, wait a minute, you can actually throw that?
I was that, and I think it was almost being the point guard.
Yep, seeing the field.
So it was seeing and people being able to relate, and I felt like I could build a relationship with people, which was really helpful from the quarterback position because people have to respect you. You have to get everybody on your team.
Yeah.
And I was quick. Like I felt like it was really easy for me to learn the plays, except for like the passing plays. That was a little tougher for me. Like I had my little like cheat sheet on my arm. I was looking every play like crap. Like
my arm is only so long. I can't only fit so many plays on my arm.
Actually, I had double, like one on each arm. So I was like, ooh, I got the first 8 plays here and the second half right here, and then I would switch them at each
She got them on her shins.
I had plays all over the place. And then in the huddle, I was like, wait, did you get that? Because I'm just going to throw it, and I hope you catch it.
Dude, at the end of the day, sometimes it becomes sandlot football.
Hey, well, a lot of times I didn't get the chance to throw because, like, there was a left blind side, like, coming at me each play. So I literally was, like, rolling out and running. I think I ran more yards than I actually threw for the season.
Hey, got to do what you got to do.
I mean, it was fun. Like, I didn't have that opportunity to play football in high school. I know the opportunities are different, but
That's awesome, dude.
you know, like putting on that helmet and those pads, like,
Yeah, I've seen photos. I've seen some photos. There's a few out there.
yeah, I mean, I looked straight out of Pee Wee football, like Pop Warner style. Like, actually, this was really funny. My dad works corporate, you know, and he had a picture of me in the football uniform, and some new guy comes in and was like, "So, yeah, where's your son play football?" My dad was like, "Well, that's my 25-year-old daughter."
Exactly.
True story. Real news, not fake.
Yes. Post-game party, Chuck E. Cheese, you know?
It was.
So how long did you do that whole football thing?
I only did it one season. Job started to pick up. It was fun. I played football. I coached college my first year in Connecticut, and then, you know, there's real things like jobs, like coming to play and traveling couldn't be consistent. So I missed it a little bit.
Yeah, you were also very, involved in the Women's World Cup in 2011 and the Men's World Cup in 2010. Like, how did that all get involved? Because you've got a lot of basketball, football stories, but how did you get kind of involved with soccer?
Well, so at ESPN, I was part of creative services, and it was project-based. And at the time, you know, the Women's World Cup was coming out. We were coming off the Men's World Cup. It was an animation package. We spent a lot of time and money and resources really making sure these events were special because I think they were new rights for us as a company. And my best friend was Hope Solo's backup goalie, so, like, I had a relationship with her, and I kind of took an interest in soccer in general. And when I was put on the project, I was even more involved. So I was doing a lot of interviews with the team. Like, I was going to as many games as I could, because I hadn't really paid attention to soccer so much before that. And then I kind of fell in love with the sport. Like, I mean, you know, since I met you, like, I was around every game. I became friends with some of the players, and like, I developed a real love for a sport I never really had an interest in, like, you know, growing up. So I thought it was really cool. It was a fun thing to be a part of. I miss being involved in sports a little bit.
We're still involved. The door's always open, man.
Hey, I mean, in this old age, I'm not John's age, but
No, I meant like as in talking about sports. That's the cool part about being a coach and analyzing the game. And like John and I do, you know, television, do radio, and done live games. That it really, I'm never going to lose that competitive edge. I'm always going to be around coaching or be involved in some type of the game because your body can only last but so long. But it's interesting as a coach. I'm sure you get a different type of joy when you're coaching someone and they do something successful. It's more you're happy for somebody. And honestly, that's a better feeling than any game I've ever won in my entire life.
yeah, I mean, when I was coaching, it was one of the most fun experiences to actually know that, like, you're teaching someone something and then you see that effect on the court. And some of those teaching experiences weren't so much for me, like, on the court. You know, being mentors to some of these kids, like, off the court, because some of them really need it. And I think, you know, being that kid, you know, I went through some things when I was growing up, and my coaches were some of the biggest influences in my life when I was going through some of those things.
I think a lot of it's just the way the brain develops. You're such a young age, and you're such a sponge, but sometimes you don't want to be a sponge. And you look back and you realize, I'm glad I did absorb that, because now I realize you kind of knew what you're talking about. So
yeah, I mean, my coaches back then, I was like, you're all idiots. And now I'm like, wow.
Do we all have the same thing? We used to always complain and whine, and I see it at all the levels of coaching. And it's just one of those things where that's the one time I wish I could invent a time machine just to go have a conversation with my old 15, 16-year-old self that knew everything.
Oh, I knew everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have changed. I would have done so many things differently, I feel like.
But I mean, that's the whole learning curve. So, John, how's the mailbag looking? I know we've only got a few minutes left in the show. We got about 5 minutes left on the clocks, but I know we got some mailbag question we're going to pull up.
Actually, just digging in. I mean, mailbag at worldsportshow.com. I mean, a lot of people, I think we pretty much hit on U.S. soccer. We get a lot of random mailbag. People mail in, and the funny thing is we talk about this every week. I get it to my phone. He doesn't get it. So
I'm going to start sending questions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah, people write in. So one thing I wanted to go over is what should we look forward to with like kind of contour people. We get a lot of people that want to give comments, give questions, but we look for kind of short questions that we can kind of go over on air. Not short as in like topic, but short, this way we can read it off. We get a lot of people that, from Philly, we get people international. And, also on the website, we do have a website. We do got social media. We've been getting hits, especially from Charlie's coverage from a couple weeks back from the She Believes. We've been getting global pretty much. I forget we had a country count, but it's a list. That's another stat that I want to have. How many people hit your videos, your interviews that you had up. That was a pretty good job. No,
we've pulled these numbers before of we've been able to track our listeners that tune into the radio show versus hit our .com, and I think at one point we had 181 different countries that have listened to our show.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just that soccer is a global sport where you might not get the great ratings locally, but the world's listening in because, I mean, there's not many of us out there talking women's sports, women's soccer, men's soccer on the same exact show. I mean, it kind of gets brushed on the wrong. That's what was the amazing part when I first met you. You knew all these players that I knew, but you and I had never crossed paths.
Right.
That we did a benefit, Joe Lloyden did in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, for the Sandy storm victims, and just did a lot of money raising. A ton of national team players came out, and you and I split the MC roles. I did the outside section, then you did the Q&A with the players, which we had to jog your memory because you didn't remember you did that.
Yeah, man, I can't remember what I did this weekend.
Exactly. So, no, it was just like, wow, you know all these players. I know these players. They've been on our show before. So I think it was a good mix to see all these people that have been involved in women's sports that are kind of behind the scenes and don't get a lot of that glamour because it's a growing sport that there's a lot of behind the scenes people making the sport grow.
I think a lot of it too is like women supporting women. It's Jill's my best friend, and anything I could do to help out whatever she was trying to do, and it's us all like coming together. And sports brings people together at the end of the day.
And I think it's neat that sports-minded people, I see that on so many job applications, but I think it's cheesy because I fell for those job interviews when I was out of college saying, sports-minded. I'm like, wait, I'm knocking door to door selling ties? This ain't sports-minded. It's like, but you're like the quarterback. No, don't use the sports analogy in business, man. Because I've had business bosses and sales like, well, I'm the quarterback, you're the wide receiver. You're going to take these calls and you're going to distribute them out. You're going to run. No, dude, no, that's not how it works, man. Did you actually play sports? Well, no, you didn't. 8th grade doesn't count, So I think that's the neat part about all of us here is we only can push our bodies so far, and then you get into the coaching, and you see the game a lot different. There's a lot of things that we will never do in our interviews and on our show and in our articles. It's just like never throw an athlete on the bus. I never ask the stupid question. I don't know what it is, but to me, it's like...
I know you didn't ask me any stupid questions, so thanks.
Good.
It's been a long time since I've been on the radio.
Do you remember some of the dumbest questions you've been asked by a journalist? I'm just curious.
I don't know. There could have been a lot of dumb questions. I mean, my answers were probably dumber than the questions, truthfully.
Well, John and I always make fun of. There's so many journalists that say they start their question with, talk about basketball. Okay. Talk about making three-pointers. All right, do you want to elaborate, man? I mean, I square up and look at the rim, and I kind of just throw it up there, man. I mean, John and I love looking at games and asking technical questions. Why did you switch from the right to the left? Why did you guys go from 3 backs to suddenly 5 backs? Give me the reason why. So, but again, thank everybody out there listening to World Sports Show. I am Charlie Flowe. WPPM LP Philadelphia. Kira Karlstrom, thank you for coming in on this Monday night. I like one on Monday night. It's definitely
so much
stretch.
fun catching up. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you to everybody who listened. This is a great show.
181 countries now.
There you go.